Hello and welcome to the What Northern Ireland Means to Me podcast, presented by me, Julia Paul. This series has been produced by Shared Future News to mark the centenary of Northern Ireland and is funded by the Heritage Fund on behalf of the Northern Ireland Office. Shared Future News provides information and personal stories on the topics of peace building, reconciliation and diversity to a Northern Ireland audience and beyond. In this episode we meet Denis Stewart, who was a research scientist and educator and is an enthusiast for conversation in civic space, to hear what Northern Ireland means to him.
Northern Ireland is my home place. I was born in North Belfast, reared in a small hill farm just to the north of the city by parents who were mostly Presbyterian in stock, who weren't particularly well off financially. It was a bit of a struggle at times for them, but the word poverty was never applied to the situation that I was accustomed to. It was natural for me to have a sort of cultural orientation, especially in those early years, towards Scotland. We were just looking across the water towards Scotland from that hill. I was fortunate enough to be born just 5 years after the end of the Second World War, a few years after the establishment of the welfare state, and particularly the National Health Service. I reckon my life was probably saved from some rather debilitating and even lethal diseases through those vaccination processes. And certainly when I was 13 coming 14, my life really was saved by surgery in the Royal Victoria Hospital. The other aspect of those early years was the access to education, post-primary, right through to postgraduate research, all those sorts of things that were just simply beyond my ken and my cultural background, but were available at no cost to my parents or to me. So deep gratitude for that. It's a beautiful place in many ways. It's a place that often gladdens my heart. I'm also gladdened by the warm generosity of many of the people who live here. There's a lot of that around. At the same time, I'm very saddened, and indeed I'm often deeply frustrated and furious about the attitudes of too many of my fellow citizens. There's a real tendency, I think, to be complacent and to be rather careless in relation to the physical environment that we live in. The other thing that's more obvious to outsiders is there's a fundamentalist tendency in our culture. People tend to be fundamentalist in religion and or politics, and the two often get mixed up together. Against all that, it's always great to see what I would call the candles that are lit in the darkness, the cultural darkness. There are lots of people who are doing really important things, often in very small ways, that are making a difference to people's lives and indeed making a difference to the planet. I do have some thoughts about what I would hope for in the world 100 years from now, particularly Northern Ireland, or whatever it's called. I say whatever it's called because I have no idea what the constitutional position of this part of Ireland will be. And quite frankly, I don't care. That is of minimal concern. The concerns of this place, as every other place, will have to be more to do with where are we on planet Earth. I would hope that this would be a place that will be coping well with climatic and ecological changes, and where the people who live here will be welcoming to strangers because they're fleeing from places that are much less conducive to surviving. I'd love to see a place where there's a sense of being at ease with who we are. And that means being at ease with the differences amongst who we are. A third thing that I would love to see is a place where learning is really valued. Historically, there was a lot of valuing of learning, and not least in the Scottish Presbyterian tradition. That's something that would be good to see reviving and returning, because learning in itself is a good thing. And I would love to see this part of Ireland being a place that is somewhere where what I call the poetical is prominent. And when I say the poetical, I mean it in the sense in which William Wordsworth and people like that would have said this in the early 19th century. That which gives you a sense of uplift, inspiration, sees beauty, sees the aesthetics of the world and looks beyond the mundane. If we had a prominence for the poetical, we would have the generosity and the sense of being at ease and the sense of humility in the face of this life.
What Northern Ireland Means to Me is produced by Shared Future News. Our staff include Alan Leonard, Alan Mabon and Julia Paul. Our theme song is Figure in the Fog by Jordan McMurray, with thanks to Music Paths. This and other episodes with transcripts are available at the Shared Future News website, sharedfuture.news. You can also follow us on Facebook at Shared Future News and Twitter at Shared Future. If you would like to suggest someone for a future episode of What Northern Ireland Means to Me, please email us at editor@sharedfuture.news. Thanks for listening.